Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
People are not happy about this.
It's been an absolute blast doing this live show on MSNBC for the past 3 years with an amazing team of producers behind me and with all of you watching at home. It's been a privilege. It's been a pleasure. But as we begin 2024, with an election coming, a war still ongoing, and too many Trump trials, honestly, to even keep track of, and with this show going away, I've decided that it's time for me to look for a new challenge. Tonight is not just my final episode of the Mehdi Hasan Show. It's my last day with MSNBC.
Oh.
Yes, I've decided to leave. To be clear, I am so proud, so proud of what we've achieved on this show, on this network. And I can't thank you all enough for tuning in and for your support and for your feedback. But as I say, new year, new plans. You can continue to follow me online at Mehdi R. Hasan on Instagram, on Threads, and of course Twitter or X, where I'll give you updates on what's coming next for me.
Wow. Just.
I think I can speak for a lot of the audience, Randi, that like every time we had a clip from him, I looked forward to it. It was refreshing. It was honest. It was reasonable and the right tone, and always he bullseyed it. And I'm going to miss his clips.
Wow, I mean, the guy is freaking brilliant. And, I don't agree with every single position he's ever taken on every single thing that he's ever discussed. But he's definitely thought-provoking, which is, I thought, the reason why you would want to be an opinion host on a network is to provoke people to think past their own position that they hold and to get them to broaden their horizons. I don't know. I just, it's really kind of stunning that you do have an election coming up this year, a big one, one that's going to decide whether we remain a democracy or not. We've got wars raging, okay? They're not our wars, but there's wars raging that will affect the entire global order of things. And you've got multiple trials, so many trials and so many hearings and so many oral arguments and so many appeals of the past president who happens to be trying to get on ballots where several states have decided he's not qualified by virtue of their state laws, and the federal government's going to insert itself here. Wow. And this is a great time to let a guy like that just go into the ether. That's a great time to cancel his show. And I got to say, before I saw that, I was watching Stephanie Ruhle's show, and I like her show too. She's brilliant also. Okay, this is a woman who can speak about economies and money easily. She understands economics. She understands capitalism. She understands global trade. She's, and she's adorable. I mean, what is wrong with that? Nothing, right? But she had on a Harvard professor who actually wrote a book about the science of happiness and what science tells us about what makes you happy. And it isn't perfection. My caller, my Latino caller who told me pie derecho, right foot, stop drinking, stop eating. So no, it's not self-sacrificing at the altar of perfection that makes us happy. It's progress that makes us happy. It's the incremental improvement that we can make in our lives, or even better, somebody else's life. That's what gives us joy. That's what creates happiness. And so when you look at the stark choice that we have now in the election, and it is between, that's why I started with the Idaho taking away a woman's right and turning us back in time versus progress, which will make us happier as a society, as a culture, as a human being. I wonder why it's even why is it even a contest? Why is it even up for grabs that we would surrender our coming out of this this horrible hole that got dug in American culture, the horrible isolation of COVID, the broken supply chains, the gouging, the scariness of it all, the wondering if we should have children in the midst of all this. But, the people that said, I'm still going to take opportunity and I'm going to make progress for me. I'm going to make progress for my life. I'm going to make progress in my family. I'm going to make progress in my future. they ended up happier. And the people who were full of grievance ended up miserable and angry and antisocial and anxious, which is a horrible feeling. Horrible. But, just watching those two shows one after the other, it struck me that every time I see something that makes progress, there is a backlash in this country. It's because of the anxiety-riddled people who never get past the anxiety. They never get into the progress portion of their thinking. They never get into understanding that happiness is not a way. Happiness is not a constant. Happiness is not a 24/7 state of being. Happiness comes in increments. And the incremental thing that you can do to bring happiness to yourself seems to be making progress. Curing a disease is probably pretty fulfilling. Choosing a path that actually allows for the building of things instead of the breaking of things is probably going to feel better. Do you know what I'm saying? Everybody focuses on why can't we get unity? And why? It's because we have a segment of society that is so full of angst and anxiety and dread and fear and loathing, anger and rage. And it's all due to the fact that they think that progress is leaving them behind and they want to remain in grievance. You can't really do anything for that person except to demonstrate that progress makes you happy, to model it, to show them that. And that's why Obama was able to win. You understand that, right? With all the attacks and everything else, Obama was able to win because what was his slogan? Yes, we can. And it wasn't about, oh, I'll make you happy, or I can build a perfect world, or no, it was about making progress. Can we make progress? Yes, we can. And it was the belief that progress would feel good and it would look good and it would be good for you. And it was. But the backlash was so insane that the next thing you know, you had a president of the United States on billboards, posters, signs that demonstrators, and those were demonstrations against the ACA. Those were demonstrations against health care for everybody, or health care for the most of us, right? That had that man, that president, who was trying to make progress on ensuring more Americans, like Hillary's thing was kids first. Then Obama's was, working people who don't get it through their jobs, right? And what did they do? The people who couldn't, face progress, who were afraid of it and thought, if you win, I lose, right? The zero-sum game that we started talking about at the beginning of this show, which is a fallacy about democracy. Democracy doesn't demand that you drag somebody down to make yourself feel better. That's not going to work either. It demands progress, okay? They put Obama's face on their little, signs that they were marching with, dressed up as a African witch doctor with a bone through his nose. That's poison. That's poison on top of anxiety. And that's how we got to this crowd. That's how we got here, by feeding that beast even more grievance. And that's what Donald Trump was willing to do. And it's deadly for the person who's participating in it. It's a dead end for the person who look at the people who went to jail. I mean, we have over 900 people in jail because they participated in an insurrection against their own country, because they couldn't accept progress for uninsured people. They thought that it was going to cost them something. And that's how they were given permission to think about everything. And then think about it along racial lines, too. Guess who's getting it? And then they lied. Immigrants. Immigrants don't get Obamacare, okay? I mean, it makes no sense, okay? But progress is what makes people happy. progress is what feels good. Progress is what does good. And I know that is the winning message. I know it. But will the grievance, people, the people who still feel like it's a zero-sum game, will they push back in a let's just say bad way? I won't characterize it as violent until it is, but in a bad way, yes, they will. And that's why this year is so perilous. That's why this year is so scary. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.